If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is a very important episode. I don't have too many videos out there specifically detailing Crowley and his teachings, but I wanted to do one and show the connection between our current culture and how Aleister Crowley has affected our current culture, how he is still used in the mainstream, and his philosophies that he taught in his books and the secret societies that he was a part of are the main philosophies that the New World Order are using today. Whether it's Thelema and the OTO connections or his connections to being a 33rd degree Freemason, it's important to understand this because this is really where the core of the teachings and the pedophilia rings come from. These Satanists who practice Crowley's teachings but do it in secrecy. So there's many documentaries out there. You can look at his background, his upbringing with his family and things like that. I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on his teachings and the things that we see in today's world. So it's important to start by talking about some of the books that he had, including Sex Magick, and one of them specifically, Magick in Theory and Practice. The reason that there's a K on the end of Magick is because of Crowley. He added the K after it so that people will be able to decipher that it was indeed referencing black magic. But he goes on in chapter 7 of his book, Magick in Theory and Practice, to talk about blood sacrifice and why it is so important to black magic. Now, I don't want to read the specific part of the ritual because obviously I don't condone that. But I will just give you the parts pertaining to pedophilia and the sacrifice of humans, especially young children. He talks about the animal, an animal sacrifice, saying the animal should therefore be killed within the circle or the triangle. We all are aware of this. That's why I constantly am talking about the ritual circle. We see at these award shows, they perform their rituals inside of the circle, even though people don't realize a ritual is being done. It's always inside of a circle or a triangle. He goes on to say, so that the energy cannot escape is the reason that they do these rituals inside the circles. An animal should be selected whose nature accords with that of the ceremony. Thus, by sacrificing a female lamb, one would not obtain any appreciate quantity of the fierce energy useful to a magician who was invoking Mars. In such a case, a ram would be more suitable, and this ram should be virgin. The whole potential of its original total energy should not have been diminished in any way. So he's talking about animal sacrifice, the different animals, why they use them for different sacrifice rituals. Now, this is the part that everybody needs to know and needs to hear. It says, for the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. For evocations, it would be more convenient to place the blood of the victim in the triangle, the idea being that the spirit might obtain from the blood this subtle but physical substance, which was the quintessence of its life, in such a manner as to enable it to take on a visible and tangible shape. Okay, so this is part of the reason, too, during these pedophilia rituals, and Crowley was one, as well as a murderer. But we see, even when we look into things like Pizzagate, these rituals they perform, that the blood is significant, and the semen. That's why they have the handkerchief. We read about that at the Podesta emails, but this is something that they do. They do need the blood of these children. Sometimes they are ritually killed. Sometimes they are just used as rape victims for trauma-based mind control. Nonetheless, he goes on to say, magicians who object to the use of blood have endeavored to replace it with incense. For such a purpose, the incense of 𝘰𝘰𝘥𝘦𝘵 may be burnt in large quantities. The tani of Crete is also a valuable medium. Both those incenses are very Catholic in their nature and suitable for almost any materialization. But the bloody sacrifice, though more dangerous, is more efficient, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best. So these are some of his teachings that specifically pertain to child abuse and human sacrifice. Again, I'll read you the important quote just one more time so people out there understand. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. Okay, that is verse 95, chapter 12 of his book, Magick in Theory and Practice. He goes on to say, but the bloody sacrifice, though more dangerous, is more efficient, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best pertaining to performing these black magic rituals. Okay, so when some people out there, they talk about all of this stuff with pedophilia and the pedo rings, it is so important to understand that this is all being followed from his teachings. Okay, and was it going on way before then? Yes. Now, when Crowley was in Egypt on his honeymoon, he took part in magical rituals, which he claims to have received a message from an entity, and that entity communicated with Crowley, which enabled him or gave him the information to write the first 3 chapters of the Book of the Law, which is one of his most popular books. Now let's talk about some of the connections that we see today in our world with Aleister Crowley before we get into more of the garbage, filth, black magic that he taught. Okay? The Book of the Law, which is the basis of Thelema, revolved around 3 philosophies, pretty much. That love is the law, love under will. Love is the law. What have I been saying on this channel? Talking about the love movement, right? To accept everything, to love and be accepting of everything, because this fights against God's law. That love is the law. It's a deception. Of course, another one of the basis of Crowley's teachings is that every man and every woman is a star. We see that in today's world, right? With social media. Everybody's their own star. Everyone makes them out to be a celebrity. Everybody trying to become a star, trying to become famous, musician, actor, you name it. That's part of it, that everyone's their own star. Because they teach in the Masonic lodges, these Satanists teach that they are gods amongst us, that they are like Egyptian gods. And of course, the most known teaching of Crowley's is the do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, which pretty much means do what you want, but also pertains to the removal of moral principle, saying that we're all called to a higher calling, regardless of ethical barriers, moral barriers. Now, some of you wonder about the connections to Freemasonry. Well, he was involved in many different secret societies, including the OTO, which is a magical society, a black magic society, as he talks openly about sex magic, the secrets of nature, and the symbolism of Freemasonry. Now, Crowley was initiated as a 33rd degree Freemason. In his autobiography, he discusses this. He says, my Kabbalistic knowledge being already profound by current standards, he thought me worthy of the highest initiation, and his power to confer special powers were obtained in a view of my limited sojourn, and I was pushed rapidly through and admitted to the 33rd and last degree before I left the country. So we also see reference to Kabbalah, because the Jewish book, the Kabbalah, is a book of mysticism and magic and black magic. And that's why you see all these celebrities wearing their Kabbalah bracelets, because they're all part of this same cult. That's how we see it, why we see it in the mainstream with Demi Moore, Madonna, Katy Perry, all of them, Leonardo DiCaprio wearing the Kabbalah bracelets, going to the Ashton Kutcher and his wife going to the Kabbalah centers. Okay, because they practice black magic under the guise of Judaism, and they're not tied together. I've already talked about many times the Talmud and the teachings in there and Zionism. Okay, these are all fronts for Judaism. They're getting away with it. They created anti-Semitism to hide and cover these things up. So if you address them on the issues, they play dumb and call you an anti-Semite. The fact of the matter is the Kabbalah teaches black magic. It teaches summoning of demons. And the Talmud endorses pedophilia, amongst many other things. And Crowley is connected to those teachings. Another thing that we see in the mainstream that he's connected to is yoga. He has a book on yoga and talks about how you can open your body to demonic forces entering. He has a book, 8 lectures on yoga. He's quoted as saying to train the mind to move with the maximum speed and energy with the utmost possible accuracy in the chosen direction and with the minimum of disturbance or friction. That is magic. To stop the mind altogether, that is yoga, which is why they perform yoga. Yoga is something that's huge in the mainstream, and it's another trigger because people come and they comment because I have a video about yoga. Many Christians out there have spoken about the origins of yoga. And they go, it's not bad, it's not dangerous. Listen, you want to do that? That's fine. I'm telling you that it's connected to Magick, okay? It's connected to Crowley, and the reason that it's mainstream isn't a coincidence now. The reason that yoga is mainstream is because they're indoctrinating people with these teachings of Crowley. Now, some will say, well, that goes back to India and Hinduism and all that stuff and Buddhism. They use yoga because not only is it used to stop the mind altogether, but to bring entities into their body. You ever notice the hand symbol during yoga? The 2 6s? There's nothing that's mainstream. That's a coincidence here with these people. It's in the mainstream for a reason. It's almost every single thing, if not every single thing. And listen, Crowley's teachings go way deeper. I don't want to do an hour video here because I want people to be able to digest this and understand who this man is. This man lived a double life as well as a secret agent. People in the mainstream who are connected. He has connections to NASA and Jack Parsons. What a surprise with connections to NASA. Okay? Jack Parsons, another OTO member, another Freemason. He's got connections to L. Ron Hubbard, the creator of Scientology. These people performed black magic rituals out in the middle of the desert. Why did they do that? Because they were trying to bring over demons and entities from the other side. They practice all sorts of pedophilia rituals, which are now being performed today. The OTO still does exist, but it's hidden from us. And people don't know who Crowley is, even though you'll see the things that he taught all around us, such as yoga, such as Kabbalah, the reason that it's being practiced so much more and more by celebrities. There's a reason that he's featured on the cover of the Beatles album. Not by coincidence. Jay-Z wearing his shirt with the Do Without Wilt. Led Zeppelin featuring Crowley. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin buying the house where he performed these rituals. Because all of these people are Satanists. They all practice and participate in these black magic rituals. And there's many divisions within the occult. There's the OTO, Masonry. These people are members of many different ones. Crowley was a member of so many different covens and cults. He was thrown out of some, allowed to remain in others. We know about the cult of 777. His book 777 and other Kabbalistic writings of Aleister Crowley, the number 777, we see in the mainstream. It's another one of those numbers like Skull and Bones, like 322. We see Michael Jackson, even in a photo, having 777 randomly on his arm. It all ties together. And these are just some of the things that people need to know about him. I'm not going to go into a 2-hour lecture about all his teachings and stuff like that. Because, listen, magic is magic. It's bad. It's no good. But it's important to realize that these Satanists who follow his teachings, who pretend that they don't know who he is, they pretend that they follow the Anton LaVey teaching, you know, the soft version of Satanism in the Satanic Bible. This is what they follow. These are the rituals that they're doing. And it's inside of the Kabbalah. Okay, it's inside of the Talmud. It's hidden under Judaism. It's hidden under other religions as well. That's why yoga's in the mainstream. That's why we see the do without wilt mindset, right? And those 3 important things that he was teaching. And Thelema, do without wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. These are the same themes we see now with the New World Order. Love everyone. Love everything. And what does it do? It corrupts people's minds because we're taught as Christians to love our neighbor. We're taught to love and to forgive. But this is a different kind of love they're talking about. This is a deception is what it is, because the Antichrist is going to come in the name of love and everyone's going to be deceived because they want love to tie into tolerism and being tolerant of everything so that we have transgender human dragons walking around. So we have 5-year-olds deciding that they're going to take pills so they don't go through puberty. Do without will shall be the whole of the law. We have a society that does what it wants. Every man and woman's a star. Look at what Facebook and social media has done to everyone. Literally, everybody thinks they're a celebrity. Their focus during the day is, what am I going to post on my Facebook? I can't wait to make dinner so I can take a picture and show everyone what I'm eating. People won't admit to thinking that way because they don't realize they're under mind control because they're too prideful. But they've turned everyone in their own mind into a star, and they knew they had to do this to continue to pull the wool over people's eyes because they know naturally that pride is a very bad sin to have. The devil was very prideful. Now we have a society filled with prideful people who in their own mind think that they are stars and who are trying to become stars. So all of this stuff we still see now. We see the symbols. We see the Baphomet, okay, with Aleister Crowley. I mean, you know, you want to talk about the Baphomet and how the Satanic Temple uses the Baphomet as their symbol, but they never address Crowley in the Baphomet. I mean, Crowley, known as the great Baphomet of the OTO, even would sign his name with the Baphomet and the Baphomet symbol, which I've exposed in this channel. It's all right there, folks. So for those of you who are new to some of this, those of you who go, well, why are these people so sick and they're pedophiles, but it's just a few specific people. It's massive because these are the teachings that they follow. And a lot of it gets taken from these false religions, like people who study the Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. These are all satanic. They're all teaching people to practice magic. Yoga. You know, I'll put it to you this way. If you hear the teachings of Crowley about sacrificing young boys and how that's the best to perform the black magic ritual, and you're someone who does yoga, and he has a book about yoga, you think maybe he put one and one together about magic and how he even talks about how it's used in magic to calm the brain down, but also to bring in entities to become under demonic possession. Again, this isn't a lecture on do this or do that. You could choose for yourself, and you could take the information and you could decide what's right and what's wrong. I know people for health reasons do yoga. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just telling you, this is why it's mainstream. This is why everybody does yoga now. Do you see how they're converting everyone into Satanism without you knowing it? Because nobody knows his teachings and where the roots of all this stuff comes from. People will say, oh, it's from, you know, Indian culture and Buddhism and yoga and all this stuff. It's all satanic. If it doesn't come from the Bible, and it's not preaching that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, then it's a false religion. That's a fact. So this is Crowley and some of his teachings. For those of you who are wondering, the connection into pedophilia, the connection into Hollywood, the connection into, you know, what a coincidence. Jimmy Page buys his house. We have Jay-Z wearing his shirt. The Beatles have him on the album cover. They're showing you this stuff in plain sight. If people knew these quotes about him and his black magic and about performing these sex rituals with kids and boys, which they continue to try to hide. They try to put false information out there going, 10 things people get wrong about Aleister Crowley. You know, he was never a pedophile. You could read it for yourself in his own books. They try to hide it by having blogs out there. You know, if you Google search it, swamping the search engine with lies. They know what's in there. They know that it's there. Of course they don't want people to know that, because then people will go, but if this guy's promoting pedophilia and having sex with kids and murdering them, why is he on the cover of the Beatles album? Why did they say that he was a hero? The Beatles talked about him as if he was Jesus, as if he was a hero and a great man. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful. And this is just a little information about Crowley and how you can see his teachings in our current world. It's important to identify the enemy because it's all over the place. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.